I think it's going to come out that he was not only obviously well known that he was a notorious pedophile, evil guy, but also that he was working for Israel. I mean, I think this is going to come out.
Comedian Tim Diller certainly doesn't pull any punches when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein and the fact that he personally believes that we will eventually learn that Epstein was a Mossad asset. That's what he believes, and there is a lot of circumstantial evidence that backs that up. Now, meanwhile, President Donald Trump insists again that it's time to wrap up the discussion on Epstein and has continued to call it a Democrat hoax. In fact, the more he calls it a Democrat hoax, the more attention he draws to it, the more we talk about it. So here we are talking about it. We'll get to Trump again later, but first, let's see more of what Dillion had to say on Rogan's podcast.
We are absolutely 100% going to find some very uncomfortable things out about his relationship with Israel. I mean, this is not going to be a piece of paper that says, hey, I'm working, but there's going to be enough circumstantial evidence that's going to connect him not only to our own government, which I imagine that the CIA was involved as well. Not obviously, it's not the Israeli people, it's not even the Israeli government per se, but it's a group in whatever you want to call it, the Israeli deep state or their intelligence community that was using Jeffrey Epstein as an access agent to get access to people and leverage on people.
And Dillion also brought up a pretty damning anecdote about Trump and Clinton's relationship with Epstein. So let's take a quick look at that.
So this was in 2000 what?
17.
Wow.
I think that's when the article was.
There's no presidential election.
Supposedly Jeffrey Epstein said to his brother or to someone, if people knew what I knew, both candidates in the presidential election would have to step down. That's a quote. Jamie can find that.
Wow.
Okay, Rogan's facial expressions, they're amazing. And by the way, that is exactly what Mark Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, said. He said, quote, here's a direct quote, if I said what I know about both candidates, they'd have to cancel the election. That's what Jeffrey told me in 2016. And before we get to Trump and how he just keeps like digging himself into like a big hole on this issue, like, I am sympathetic to these theories about how Epstein was an intelligence asset because of the relationships he had, because of what he was up to, because of his properties and the cameras and like why was he filming people, what was going on with that? How did he make all that money? There's too many questions and too much circumstantial evidence for me to just completely dismiss that he was working with Mossad. Doesn't mean he was in Mossad. It means that he was potentially an asset for Mossad. But there could be evidence that he was working for other countries as well.
Yeah, I think I am like 70% of the way to where Tim Dillion is maybe on this. Like, I'm not convinced. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, obviously Epstein was Mossad, but I'm also not gonna call people conspiracy theorists for thinking that there were connections. Like, there's obviously ties between Epstein and Israel, whether that means he was an asset. And I do think like the language gets mixed up. Like when someone says like Epstein was an agent, he was a spy. Like, I think that's misleading. I don't think he was like doing like missions. He's not James Bond, but like, could he have had ties to intelligence agencies? Maybe, but yeah, I mean, obviously he had connections to, former Israeli prime ministers, a lot of visits, a lot of, sketchy ties, where'd he get his money from? But, some of the sources that are the most heavily relied on to make like the central claims about his ties to Mossad, sources are, it mostly comes back to one person, whether that guy is credible or not. I'm skeptical.
Like the former Mossad agent? Yeah, I forget his name, but there is a former.
Yes, the guy.
Yes.
Yeah. And so a lot of the books that are about, Robert Maxwell and about Epstein cite him as their source. And, maybe he's perfectly credible. Maybe Israel did a really good job of discrediting him, and he, everything he says is true, but he hasn't provided, the hard evidence that he claims he has. So I don't think it's a clear-cut case.
No, I think you're absolutely right, and you should be cautious in saying that something is definitive when it's not definitive. We haven't had a smoking gun, but this is the problem that I have with the handling of the Epstein case and the Epstein files. And to be honest with you, the way the Trump administration has been handling this, because the more I see their behavior, the more I start to really believe that Epstein was a Mossad agent, because it just looks like a cover-up, right? Like one foible after another, it's kind of crazy. But there is no smoking gun, and to the point that I think Ken Klippenstein does a good job making when it comes to the publishing of manifestos. When you refuse to do your job as a journalist and you refuse to publish the details of a manifesto for whatever weird reason, that allows the conspiracy theories to fester.
Yep.
And so in lieu of the actual Epstein files and a real understanding of what he was up to, what's gonna end up happening is people are going to form their own theories. Some are gonna be unhinged, some are gonna be based in a little more reality, and it does one thing, right? Like one thing that everyone can agree on, I think. It leads to severe distrust of our institutions. So just something to think about. Now, when it comes to Donald Trump, he wrote the following in a pretty lengthy Truth Social rant this morning. Lots of fun.
Obviously.
I know,
when is he not ranting on Truth Social? How does he have the time?
No, I was gonna say, I think that's literally all he does at this point. Like it's
rides around on a golf cart and writes on Truth Social.
Yeah, or posts on Truth Social.
I barely have time to read his Truth Socials, let alone him writing them, and he's the president.
Super long-winded. So here's what he wrote. He says, the confused and badly failing Democrat Party did nothing about Jeffrey Epstein while he was alive except befriended him, socialize with him, travel to his island, and take his money. They knew everything. Come on. Okay, they knew everything there was to know about Epstein, but now, years after his death, they, out of nowhere, are seeming to show such love and heartfelt concern for his victims. Does anybody really believe that? By the way, there are quite a few Republicans who have been showing, Republican members of Congress who have been showing a lot of empathy for the victims. That includes Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, Anna Paulina Luna. I would like to actually see more Democrats outside of Ro Khanna show empathy to the victims. So to call this a Democrat hoax, I don't think people are buying it, especially when you have visibly a lot of Republicans coming out and saying we need to do right by the victims, because clearly, the survivors, I should say, they're being trafficked to other men. So who are these other men and why haven't they been prosecuted? But anyway, he goes on and on and on. And then Representative Ro Khanna already explained how thousands of pages of documents from the DOJ had already been given to Americans with no new information. No new real information was released, okay? Yeah. And we don't have to go to that video, but Trump basically wants to say the DOJ has done its job, case over, move on. But people are not gonna move on.
No, and if he keeps saying that, the more people are gonna say, obviously there's something going on. I was thinking about this today, it reminds me of that, there was a Republican candidate, and Cenk used to refer to this all the time, who put out an ad, I think her name was Christine O'Donnell or something, and it just started with, I am not a witch.
Oh yeah, yes.
Well, I didn't think you were.
Oh,
but
I think you're a witch. Yeah.
It's like that. Well, if you keep bringing it up and keep saying it's only about Democrats, then I don't think so. You're acting super sus about that.
100%. In fact, I mean, it's a little bit, in other contexts, it's a little bit unfortunate. It's known as the Streisand effect, where, was it Richard Gere? I don't remember, but there was an actor, a male actor, who's accused of having a fetish of putting hamsters up his butt, right?
Oh, wow.
It was Richard Gere. Ugh, Richard Gere's a hottie. It's very unfortunate that he was dealing with that, obviously false claim. But basically it's this idea that someone might defame you, and that really bothers you. I mean, I've been defamed so many times. There have been so many times where I'm like, Cenk, I want to sue. I want to sue for defamation. He's like, it's a bad idea. Yeah. And it's the Streisand effect, where you draw attention to the allegation, And since you're on the defense, it makes you look bad, makes you look sus, as you said. And so something really interesting is actually happening with Kash Patel's girlfriend, who's been accused of being like an Israeli spy, and that she's the one influencing Kash Patel as FBI director. And so there's no evidence of that, okay, let's be clear. But now she wants to sue, and it's gonna draw more attention to the claims that you're Mossad. Like, I don't think it's gonna bode well, so.
No, but I do get that instinct to wanna.
100%, I do too, more than anyone,
defend
honestly.
your name. But in this case, I mean, their ties are out in the open. Whether or not Donald Trump actually did anything, like I don't know, but just shut up. Like he can't keep his mouth shut. Someone needs to tackle him, or like
no. I actually don't want to give him good advice on this issue. Like keep going, because I don't think that we would have had the kind of press conference we did where the victims had a voice in many cases for the first time. But moving forward, I just want to caution on one thing. You know, when you have allegations come out and it's not adjudicated through the courts, that does open up a kind of dangerous situation in which, like, we don't have a way of proving these allegations, right? And I don't want something that's really important, something that I believe in, which is getting justice for the actual survivors. I don't want that to devolve into what Me Too devolved into, honestly, where there were some false claims and there was like this witch hunt type, environment. And that ended up, like the backlash to that ended up being pretty disastrous as well. So just a note of caution as we move forward. And I wanna let you all know that I'm being cautious moving forward with this story, because I don't want to engage in a witch hunt. I wanna make sure that we're approaching this story as responsibly as we possibly can. And so thank you, Kate, for your comments on it. And for cautioning against just flat out believing that Epstein was a Mossad agent. We don't have that smoking gun, and it's important to know that while also taking note of the circumstantial evidence.
But again, that's exactly why they should put out the files that they have, 100%. Because then we could stop the witch hunt.
Yeah,
that'd be 100%. A really easy way to shut that down.
Very true.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.